So, have you ever moved abroad and then felt like you have lost your confidence? Welcome to today's The Expat Woman Show, where I'm joined by my guest, Solveiga Jaskunas, and we are going to unpack rebuilding confidence abroad. Solveiga has a very inspiring story and tips on how she went about rebuilding confidence abroad. So, I've known Solveiga for a couple of months. She was a speaker at the Expat Woman Summit, and I noticed her because she was definitely building her confidence abroad. She was posting on LinkedIn. I'm not sure how we connected, but I know she was sending me links in the DM and she was very active. And so I invited her to speak, and now she's also a founding member of the Expat Woman. And she is a career coach for expats and also an immigrant voice for people in the HR human resources department. Before I have Solveiga tell us a little bit more about herself, I also wanted to introduce myself. My name is Nyna Caputi, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Expat Woman, a global platform designed to provide community resources, support, and opportunities to women living abroad so we can step out of the shadows and into the spotlight. And I host this Expat Woman show every week on Tuesday at 9 a.m. PST. So I can showcase and highlight and spotlight women like Solveiga who are making a huge difference, being a voice for women who are living abroad and showing people and inspiring them by their work and their voices. So without further ado, Solveiga, let's hear more about you. Tell us a bit about your expat journey. Where you from originally? What brought you to the US, where I know you now live? And also, what inspired you to become a career coach and immigrant voice for people in HR?
That's a lot, but I'll try to be brief. So yeah, I came to the United States because my husband is an American, and then he told after we got married, let's just check out. So this is what we did, and yes, I found very fast that being an immigrant is not the same as being a tourist, and definitely I faced a lot of challenges. It took me 3 years to find my first job in the States, professional job. My first job paid 750 per hour, and was not my dream job. And it after initially I tracked how many jobs I applied, but when I reached 1,000, it was too demoralizing, and I stopped. But in some ways, that journey helped me to be who I am today. It helped me to build the resilience. It helped me to become a stronger professional because I realized that the only way I could compete is to become more knowledgeable, and helped me to be more compassionate to others. So help others with job interviews, but also like now speaking on behalf of others, because I've realized that very frequently the conversations about immigrants, expats are missing in organizations. However, many people from international backgrounds facing a lot of challenges in the workplace. So probably that will be like a brief answer to a very complex question.
No, you did a great job with answering that. I know it's a lot, and
Mhm.
but again, it's just as an immigrant, we face so many challenges, right? And
Mhm.
what you just shared about, especially with finding a job, I think you said you applied for 1,000 jobs, and it took you 3 years, and we'll definitely
More than
talk more
that.
about that.
I
Yeah,
stopped.
that is a lot. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I stopped tracking because I realized at some point it's too demoralizing.
Right.
Talking about
Right. No,
confidence. Uh-huh.
yeah, no, I faced some of that too when I came here. I was like
Mhm.
so eager to find a job, and I applied, and I didn't have as many applications as you, but I know people who have, and it is, especially if you've been
Mhm.
very successful in your country, and then you move here and you find you are at the bottom and you have to start from scratch, and you have to kind of prove that you are a professional, that you have expertise in your field. It's not easy, right? I just wanted to give a shout out to David Launder, who's joined us in the audience, and he's been leaving some comments. If you're joining us as a guest, do introduce yourself in the comments either on LinkedIn or YouTube, and show Solveiga some support and love and ask her questions too. So let's talk about rebuilding one's confidence. So you did share a little bit about how you felt, demoralized because you weren't getting a job. So that I'm sure affected your confidence. What are some other factors that affected how you felt and that, just made you have really low self-esteem, self-doubt? Because I think when you have lack of confidence, it really stems from having self-doubt, because then you start doubting your expertise, your skills, how you're presenting yourself to other people. And then also the same thing with your self-esteem, because you feel I'm not good enough as everyone else. And especially as an immigrant and expat, you don't sound like others, you have an accent. In your case, I think at least you look like the, a lot of what the Americans are supposed to look like, though now we're so diverse, at least that, you know, may not, because for women of color, it's an additional factor as well. So just let's talk about what were some of the factors that led to you feeling like you didn't have any confidence, besides, of course, not getting hired for a job.
I, before I moved to the States, I thought that my English is not perfect, but it's quite okay, because I manage European Union funded projects back in Lithuania, and our partners were from Germany, Bulgaria, and Italy. And of course, our German partners' English was perfect, but all of our others were the same. But our project was successful. We had very successful meetings in most countries, and we felt okay. But when I came here, I think it was hard that sometimes I will ask a question and people, even on the street, and they will say, I didn't understand a single thing you told, and they would walk away on my first job. Or like I would have an interview and it will end after the first question. Or I would have a voicemail and will not be returned. Or when you go to the party, then suddenly people are not interested in talking with you. And then those times, I think that, like many of us, we question, will I feel ever be enough? Will I have a professional job? Will I ever have feel that like at home? Will I have a community who supports? Those definitely was a big doubt, and mostly like, will I ever be able to compete and have a professional career, the same one as I had in my country? Yeah.
That is really like disheartening to hear that people would walk away when you'd ask them a question, or that after one question at an interview they would say your is over. So I can see why you lack that confidence and started doubting yourself. So how did things change? How did you get that first job, and then how did you build your confidence?
So I think, at some point, I made a very good decision. I realized that I should, focus on my improving myself, and focus on what I can do versus what other people think about me. And I decided that I would go to every single interview, and I will not worry about the results, but focusing on what I can do better. And I think that was really a game changer in my confidence, because suddenly I stopped worrying what other people think on the other side of the table. And I also could start seeing the progress. I could see that I did better today than a month before. And I became more confident. I also start experimenting with my answers, asking a lot of questions, and I became better in the interviews. And then finally I was able to find the job, but mostly like I just focused on what I can do, because yes, I realized very fast that I need to rebuild my confidence. And I've learned that through that journey, that when you compare yourself, to others, you always can see how imperfect you are, especially with your English. But when you start focusing on your progress and you say, oh, actually I've done a lot, and I've done more than probably most people can do, and I'm enough. And also you see that you rethink the failure, because the failure is only when you stop achieving your dreams. But as long as you work towards your dream, it's really progress towards your future success. So maybe if you haven't achieved yet, you will achieve tomorrow. And so somehow like that really helped me with the confidence. and also getting better in the interviews as well.
I love that. I love that you change your focus and realize that, and I think the way you stop playing, I hate to use the word victim, but some of us do that, right? Or whichever country we move to, the country sucks. Nobody believes in me. Besides, of course, feeling sorry for yourself, you blame everyone else. So you just change your attitude and started focusing on adding value. And I agree. I mean, that the same thing happened to me. There are times when you feel, am I not getting this job? Am I not getting this sponsorship or this collaboration because I'm not American? I mean, I am American by, citizenship now, but because I have an accent, I don't look like them, I wasn't born in this country. And then you focus on what can I do and what can I bring to the table. And it definitely is a confidence booster. And I think since you and I are both immigrants to the US, I think the US does provide us with those opportunities. But if you show up as someone that's not very confident, that is already expecting to be treated like a victim, I think that shows up, especially in the professional world. I think the mindset plays such a big role in how we approach what we want to do and in building our confidence. Mary just joined us. She says, hello, Solveiga and Nyna. She's joining us on YouTube. Very cool. What I love about our live stream on StreamYard is you can see who's joining us on LinkedIn and on YouTube. So it's so cool. And again, Mary and David, if you have any questions or you want to add to this discussion on rebuilding confidence abroad, just jump in the comments and let us know. So, in terms of people who are watching this, who feel right now that, they don't have the confidence to either apply for a job or even at an interview, or if they have their own business, like you and I do now have our own businesses, and we know that clients don't fall into our lap, right? We have to put ourselves out there, whether it's on social media, whether it's going to in-person events, attending virtual events. So what are some implementable tips that you can share with people watching, or or listening or watching the replay later, that they can start, again, I'm using the word implement, to start building their confidence abroad?
Yeah, so I thought before this meeting what maybe words will be, what advice will be helpful, and I thought about three words that also starts with C, like confidence, and one of them is building competencies, other building courage, and third is building a community. And first, building competence. When you move to a new country, there are always things to learn. Even maybe if you have a professional career, your education might be not counted and you need to learn more. You might have need to get more professional experience. You also need to improve your language. And of course, you need to learn about the new culture. And for me, it's still surprising, but that when I took 2 classes at American University, suddenly I started getting phone calls and interviews. And it's still surprising that employers will see that 2 classes are more valuable than 6 years of education at the best university. But so for others who are listening, sometimes we think that we need to get a full master program or full degree. Sometimes taking some steps can lead you to interviews. But building your competences is really important because you can show a big value that you can bring to employers. Secondly, I think it's even more important building courage, because when we move to a new country, we need to build courage to fail, build courage to go to the rooms where we don't belong, build courage to face rejections, build courage, to face our fears, courage to ask for help. And that is really important, and that prepares us for the situations where even bigger courage is required. And for me, was even recently being on the social media or doing conversations or recorded conversations, especially, is still difficult. But when I start getting a lot of messages from others, immigrants, saying that those conversations do not happen, they don't feel comfortable bringing those conversations to employers. that we don't have an immigrant consultants who sound like them. We might have somebody who have experience, but we don't have somebody who also non-native speakers. And I realized that I need to step out of my comfort zone when other people rely on my message, and I became more comfortable. And finally, building your community, building community of people who support you, who encourage you. And I think, there are like so many research done that when we have other people who are of us, we feel also more confident, and we can do that by asking for help. And we don't need to be concerned about it, because when we move to a new country, we need help. When we start a new business, we need help. When we're looking for a job, we need help. And also helping others, because people find out when we're helping others, our happiness increases, our confidence increases, and we found that we bring additional value that we never maybe considered before.
Those are really valuable tips, Solveiga. You just struck gold there with sharing those. I love that you came up with the three C's: confidence. Confidence. To have confidence, you need to have community, courage, and competence. And I think if as you said, if you focus on those instead of focusing on not feeling confident, it does help. And you also spoke about being comfortable, right? Stepping out of your comfort zone. And I recently saw, I think it was on LinkedIn, where someone said you have to start feeling uncomfortable, and then start feeling comfortable with feeling uncomfortable, right? So when you're feeling uncomfortable, actually you're doing something out of your comfort zone, and it's a good thing, right? Just like when you move abroad, you're really stepping out of your comfort zone, because everything is so different, right? And that's very often when we start feeling unsure of ourselves, especially if you move to a country where you don't speak the language, or you're considered, as you said, to have an accent, even though you spoke English and you interacted in English. Suddenly you come to this country, but because you don't sound like them, then you feel, the attitude. You see how people also kind of talk to you. Like, even though I speak English fluently, there's sometimes people I meet who will speak very slowly or very loudly, uh, you know, almost to make sure that I understand what they're saying. So it's just interesting. And another thing I wanted to add to that was cultural intelligence, because last week or 2 weeks ago, I had one of your contacts, Daniela Draugelis, on the show, and she spoke about cultural intelligence and how important it is to learn about a country and its culture, and how things are done before you move or after you move, because that makes you more comfortable with the country, and and helps you with also dealing with culture shock, because besides you not feeling comfortable and confident, you're also having to deal with culture shock, both in the workplace and in the community. And I agree that community is so important, and you have to ask for help. So I wanted to talk to you about you personally and professionally. How would you say rebuilding your confidence has helped you personally and professionally? Have there been any significant outcomes that have come out of this, this work you've done on yourself?
Yeah, so I think especially this year, there are many days I question what I was thinking, because I challenged, to start my own consultancy, then public speaking and doing social media, being open in the social media, and that is definitely challenging. However, like, I got opportunities I never considered before, like, even getting to know you, speaking in Expat Woman Summit, and now like we'll be in the global HR summit. And so that is these opportunities I never considered before. I developed a lot of amazing friendships and many people that probably I would never met otherwise. So I think, definitely stepping up and there are many things I can learn, especially about public speaking, but I've learned that you don't need to be perfect to make a difference.
I agree. I think I agree. You have to just embrace your authentic self. And today,
Mhm.
I think last year the word for the year in one of the dictionaries, they did the research and it was authentic, being authentic. And I know it's become like a buzzword, but I think that's what being imperfect is, right? Embracing your imperfection, because if we wait to be perfect, we wait to have that accent that we think will be accepted, or acting and behaving like people in the country move to it, you're never going to really
Yeah.
achieve anything, right? So I like that, and I know you've used that being imperfect in some of your posts on LinkedIn, and and I know I've been following your progress, and it's amazing the way you've just been shining online and offline as well. And when I invited you to be a speaker at the Expat Woman Summit, I know it was your first time speaking, and I'm sure it wasn't easy, but you said yes, and I believed in you. I saw something in you, and that was because you had
Mhm.
built your confidence. So there was something in the way you were showing up online and in my DMs, and also sharing value. I didn't just select you because I was like, okay, she's a confident person. You were also adding value, and you were being a voice for other immigrant expat women. And that's what I do with my events, and is always bringing women who have moved abroad, who I feel can be inspiring. Because if someone sees you or is watching the show or listening to this, if Solveiga can do it, so can I,
Mhm.
right? And I think that makes our journey abroad so much more fulfilling once we achieve success. And success doesn't have to be a public speaker, or being the social
Mhm.
media expert. It could be anything. But once you discover that passion and you embrace it and you step out of your comfort zone to achieve that, it just makes life so much more exciting and makes you happy. And then you kind of are,
Mhm.
you find home in the country you've moved to, right? Because that's what we're all looking for. So we don't have too much time left. I like what Mary said: being brave in the eye of a storm. Like a tree, they may lose leaves, but they can regrow taller and brighter. That's spot on, Mary, because that's
Mhm.
exactly what this conversation is about. So thank you for sharing. I'd love to learn a little bit about Lithuania, because I don't know too much, and whenever I bring someone on from another country, I like to hear a little bit about that country. And then I have another question about, you moving to the US and your experiences in terms of culture shock. So maybe sharing, a few things about the country, like what, and maybe similarities with the US, like what is different about Lithuania from the US, and what are some things that people should know? Say tomorrow someone decides to move there, or even travel there, or has to go there and work. What are some things they need to keep in mind when they visit Lithuania?
Well, it's really, I am proud of my country to see how far away travel, because when we got independence, I remember how exciting it was, and but also we saw a very harsh reality, how far away from the rest of the world we are. And now, like even last year, we have a NATO summit in Lithuania. We had women as a president selected twice. We have two women's prime ministers. We have very currently the leaders of three main political parties are women, and we see a very big progress. Recently, we did a survey, and the youth, the young people under 30, they considered, from all the countries, we considered Lithuanians the happiest people in the world, young people living in Lithuania. So I thought that is quite cool fact, because it's good that young people see the future in their own country. And of course, now it's very scary seeing that we have a major war next to our borders, and that is troubling as well.
Congrats on your country being recognized as one of the happiest countries for you. That's very cool, and that you have so many women leaders, and maybe that explains why you have these leadership skills too. And talking about leadership, I see Mary added another very, she said added something else. So many women struggle with this issue. Being a leader is very important and needed. Yeah, we definitely need more women, and especially I think because I run the expat women, expat women as leaders, sharing their wisdom and knowledge with everyone else. So let's talk about the U.S. What was maybe share three things you experienced as culture shock when you moved here that they were so different from Lithuania.
Well, this is much bigger country, but at first, yes, I think experience the shock of language, that my language was not enough. I experienced, uh, shock of, I think it's more like, finding a job professionally. And of course, I experienced shock, more like a cultural differences of communications, and especially of neighborhood, that sometimes you don't know people in your neighborhood.
So when you say, like, in terms of the workplace, like, what was the culture shock you faced there? Because usually it's kind of a given, right? When we move to another country and work, the workplace cultures. What was something like that really stood out? Like, was there anything specific that stood out in the workplace?
I think, in Lithuania, usually you get to know people much faster on a personal level. People go out for lunch. You get to know their colleagues. People get invited very fast to your home, and have so it's easy to somehow, like, to get people very well. I found it a little at the beginning was more challenging, and of course, like, I think it was not about only about the culture, but I was not as comfortable with the language, and I was not, so reaching out and being as myself as I'm now. Mhm.
I agree. I mean, yeah, that's something I also experienced when I moved here. Was in terms of, you mentioned the neighborhood and at work, right? Because in India too, you make friends much faster, and especially if
Mhm.
you're a foreigner, people will make an effort to invite you over for a meal or take you out to eat and show you the. And maybe it's different in different parts of the US. You and I both live in big cities, so
Mhm.
maybe in smaller towns. Again, I love the US. I don't want to bash it, but it's also interesting that we both had that same experience, and that makes it harder to fit into the country because you feel lonely and you don't feel accepted. Because I think, especially for us women, we want to have friends, we want to have a peer group that can help us navigate the new country. Before we go on to my final question, you are a founding member of the Expat Woman. So, and I'm really happy to have you join our membership because it's the inner circle for expat women. Because I have a really large network on our mailing list and social media pages. It's over 10,000 at this point. No, actually, totally with the social media, I think it's about 30, 40,000, because I've been running this for so many years. But I created an inner circle, which is a paid membership, because for women like you, so we can build that community in a smaller, more intimate fashion, and also help each other grow and achieve our success and leadership skills, or whatever skills we want to achieve abroad. So what made you join it? And so far, you're a fairly new member. How have you benefited?
Well, like, I even before joining, I benefited a lot because just being part of the Expat Women Summit boosts my confidence, because I didn't know, I was my first time speaking, and I didn't expect it that so many people will connect with my speech, will get so many comments. That helped me a lot. And one person who attended that my speech recommended me for the Global HR Summit. So I got opportunities I would never had otherwise. I also got to know quite a lot of amazing people because, of a summit. And just last week we had the conversation of Dominica. We had a podcast. It was quite cool. She's from Poland, close to Lithuania, but both of us live far away. She lives in Italy. I live in the States. I don't know. I thought, like, when I joined the community, I found we have so much in common. No matter if we call ourselves expatriates or immigrants, we have to adjust to a new country, and having people who understand and support, it's really amazing. So that's why I joined.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. And for those who are listening, I currently the doors to the Expat Women membership are closed, but I'll share a link in the comments. You can add your name to the wait list, and you'll be informed when we open the doors, and you get to work even more closely and collaborate with women like Solveiga, and she mentioned Dominica as well, who's been a member for a long time and runs a podcast. And there are lots of amazing women from all over the world. So we are at the end of this uh,
Mhm.
show, but I have a question for you. How can people connect with you? And if is there anything else you want to share? Do you have an event coming up or anything that, or do you do coaching? Anything you want to share about how you work with people? Go ahead.
Thank you, Nyna. So I think you have connecting me through LinkedIn. That is the best way. I still need to do my website. I haven't done yet. And I hope that, yeah, my biggest now coming event is being in the Global HR Summit. This is a big event of 15,000 people joining. So I look forward to learning and growing. And I also hope that, organizations will see the value of those conversations and see that, being an immigrant do not make you less worthy, but expands your world, and that those conversations about the issues that international employees face are important not in our circle, it's important in every organization. So the employers can support them better, and they will bring, the best value to the organizations as well, because we can help them to overcome that imposter syndromes. We will find the powers we have, and those conversations will benefit anybody else. So I hope that those conversations will be expanded outside of our conversation, and the organizations will see the value, and we will see the value of the people from different backgrounds, because yes, it probably I'm not a perfect speaker, nor I ever will be, but I can bring that perspective as an immigrant that frequently, people who are grow up here, they wouldn't can bring that perspective. Mhm.
Really well said, Solveiga. And one thing I would add is don't apologize for not being the perfect speaker, because I think, as I said, I think it's really being authentic. And I think sometimes you hear these speakers who are so polished, but you can't really connect with them because it's just, especially with AI today, I feel you need to sound as far away from AI as possible. Like, the more genuine you sound, the more
Mhm.
sincere, and as you say, imperfect. Again, imperfect is so subjective. I think you're perfect. I think the way you express yourself, your sincerity, it's I think that and that's why I think you had such an impact as a speaker at the Expat Woman Summit, because you bared your soul, right? You didn't hide anything or try to be someone you were not. But I also wanted to just quickly piggyback on what you shared about organizations paying attention to women or anyone who's moved there from another country, to help them feel like they belong. And I think, again, that's where cultural intelligence plays such an important role. Make because a lot of companies are focused on the equity in what's it, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. But I think when I look at organizations that have employee resource groups for immigrants, they might have like Asia Pacific or Latina, but I think sometimes just having one employee resource group for anyone who's moved abroad might help, because I think no matter where you move from, our issues are similar, right? In terms of trying to fit
Mhm.
in terms of figuring out the culture. And I think that there's just a few organizations I know, that have that. So I think maybe focusing on the issues that folks, um, you know, challenges, I would say, that you face when especially in the workplace, I mean in the community as well, but I think it makes it harder. And I think then your employees will step into their power and really shine. So I'm glad you shed a light on that and brought that up in our conversation. So we are out of time. Thank you so much, Solveiga, for
Thank
joining
you.
us on the show and for sharing your knowledge. And I know we'll continue to see you, as now you're part of the Expat Woman membership. So members always are involved in a lot more that happens. So everyone watching or listening, I'm sure Solveiga will be back. And thank you for everyone in the audience that joined us or watching the replay. And I will see you again next week, Tuesday, every Tuesday at 9 a.m. PST on the Expat Woman LinkedIn and the Expat Woman YouTube channels. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you so much, Nyna. See you soon. Bye bye.